when I knew that I was going to meet Sinan, and I have millennials in my office, and of course I asked them, how do I learn how to say this name? I researched where he was from, realized that it was French. I took 3 or 4 years of that, and I can say convertible, decapotable. That's what I got out of that. But they told me about Google Interpreter, so that I could sit with Google and I could listen to the way his name was to be pronounced. That, let me tell you, was a total disaster, because I did that and it was nothing like the way he pronounced it. So he put up with me, and that began our friendship. And I think that one of the greatest things about this industry is those happenstances, those lucky little twists, the moments in your life that you don't think are coming or at your lowest point, and someone somehow, even a flower, a bird, inspires you. And that, to me, is the hospitality industry, because we are people. You're here because you like to give back. You like to help people. You like to service people. You enjoy smiling. And that's what we do, day in and day out. And do I always like all of my clients? No. No. Especially, I own a campground, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But we have 537 sites. And when you deal with 537 families, day in and day out, since about mid-April, November 1st is when we turn the water off in the campground. So if you got me about 2 weeks from now, I would be a lot more organized person. Right now, I just want people, and forgive me if you're from Pennsylvania, but most of my clients are, I want them to go back to Pennsylvania just for a little bit of time. But again, that's what we do. So let me tell you what got me into this industry. I was going to Duke. I was going to be a doctor. I fell in love. I moved to a campground. I did that in 1975. And I hate telling you all that, because you start going, oh my gosh, how old is she? But I found that I was good at it. I love making money. I love making people happy. And the industry that you've chosen, you get to do both of those things. Not all the time. You don't always make money and you don't always make people happy. But at the end of the day, you lay down, you put your head on your pillow, and you know you've done your best. And that's all that anybody can ask for. We were in the industry probably 20 years in, so it's like 1995. And our county commissioners decided that they were going to pass a $500 per site fee for each site that we had, for every campground in our county. I'm in Cecil County, the uppermost county on the Eastern Shore. We were already paying about $90,000 in property taxes. This would have been almost an additional $300,000 a year for the right to have a campground. We'd never been to court about anything. I'd never participated in any of these organizations. I never really thought about being in the hospitality industry. I was in a job where I could make a living, where I enjoyed the outdoors and could interact with people. I could be creative, doing brochures and the bulletins that we did. I could be a salesperson and selling. We sell 99-year leases, so it was a whole different thing than your average normal campground. I could explore different designs and do things for our store. So there was a lot of different ways that kept me going with this. But we couldn't have survived $300,000 more a year for nothing. It's just a fee like you pay for your tags. So we went to court, and we battled our county commissioners through 3 years. We won the first hearing, we won the second hearing, and then the final court of appeals is in Annapolis. And if you've never been to a court of appeals, don't ever go. It was very intimidating, and I'm really not intimidated easily, but there's lots of people at that point, all guys in red robes, and you're not allowed to say anything. The only thing you could do is introduce new information. And we went through all of that, paid for the attorneys through all of that, and we won on the final appeal. It made me very unpopular with our county commissioners. And I became the face of this fight, which was not what I wanted. I am technically a well-socialized introvert. I didn't want to be in the front of the room. It's not my perfect place to be. I'd much rather be sitting back and listening. So during that period of time, we didn't belong to the Chamber of Commerce. I didn't do political fundraisers. I never belonged to the Hotel Association. even the Campground Association I didn't belong to. Those organizations had given us support throughout those 3 years. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give back. 3 years. I can do that. I'll go to meetings. I'll join organizations. I'll pay the dues. I'll give back the 3 years because I truly do believe that what you give back comes back to you. Good or bad, it's going to come back to you in one way or another. So I started going to meetings. The first meeting I went to of the Campground Association, they were talking about how they had to return money when it rained. And I left because that's not my world. And I knew that I knew nothing about what I was doing. And within 1 year, I was the executive director of the Maryland Association of Campgrounds. And it's evidently a lifelong sentence because I'm still the executive director of the Maryland Association of Campgrounds. They were the greatest people in the world. I went through a hazing period. They sold me at an auction and that type of thing. And things like that will happen to you because this room is full of very creative people. You're the people that think all the time about what you're going to do next, or what idea can I do next, or what person can I put with this person. And that is one of the things I enjoy the most. I like to be able to make things work. So I gave back to the Association of Campgrounds, and I've got to tell you that my best friends come from these organizations now. Melissa and I met, and you'll hear from her in just a minute, through that organization. People that I would never have met. That's another blessing that I found that comes from our industry. Throughout all those battles, there's one thing that I learned, and I will tell you this, and it is true. If you do not make the effort to be at the table, you will be on the menu. It happens all the time in our country today, and we're not going to get into politics, I hope. But you've got to be able to willing to walk your walk and do the work and become a part of the organization. I went on to be the chair of our Chamber of Commerce. We had 700 members. It was a wonderful education. In the county I had been in for 20 years, I wasn't involved. I went out to dinner or I bought a car there, but I wasn't really involved with the workings of the county. After the county commissioners that we sued were gone, it took a few years. They wouldn't let me get on the tourism committee for Cecil County because of what I had done, those types of things. Things began to change. Women became more popular as far as getting into organizations. At that point, I was young, I was heavy set, I was blonde. There were all of the various forms of discrimination or prejudice, I guess you would call it. Those things all were starting to go away, and I guess I just hit at the right period of time. I now tell everybody that I am my title is past everything. I'm past the chamber and past with the Maryland Tourism Council. I'm with the Maryland Association of Campgrounds. I've been on the National Board of Campgrounds. And again, believe it or not, I hate talking about myself, but you need to know that no matter what your background is, no matter where you came from, and no matter what your dream is, you can make it happen. And you can find people that will help you make it happen. It was one of the greatest blessings for me to be able to meet Sinan and know that we could make a difference, a tiny little difference in the life of a person and his beautiful wife, Halima, and where he'll go from here. That's a gift that you just can't get in any other industry, in my opinion. So let me give you just a little bit of facts about Maryland. I don't want to hold you here too long. Visitors to Maryland spent $17.3 billion on travel expenses in 2016. That's up almost 3% from 2015. We welcomed 42 million visitors in 2016, which is a 4% increase, which is huge for us to be able to do that with the budget that we have. More than 62% of visitors to our state focused on 3 areas. The first one, food and beverage, then lodging and transportation. Their spending generated $2.35 billion just in state and local tax. And that's a tool that I have used many, many years now, especially with people, and we've all experienced it. If you're from a small town and there's a festival, and during that week you can't drive, you can't go to your regular restaurant, everything is crowded, all of us are going to say, oh my gosh, I just want to get to my home. But those people that are there, they're helping pay your taxes. And trust me, that is a big seller no matter where you are, because there are people that think that tourism or hospitality is not a good industry. They want things to stay the way they were. They're not going to. Something is going to change. So it just needs to be positive change. And the things that you're doing are going to create that. 146,000 Marylanders are employed in tourism. It's the 10th largest private sector employer in the state. Payroll was $6 billion for those people, which is up 5.2% since the year before. And my favorite statistic is that 98% of all tourism hospitality businesses are small business. And I learned that through the chamber. They're the people that go to work every day and hope that they can meet payroll. They're the people like me, like so many of us who have started. One of my favorite tricks, and I was talking with one of the professors earlier for board meetings, is when I ask people to introduce themselves, I ask them what their first paying job was. And you would be amazed. At the last meeting I did it, we had a lady who said that she had started out just babysitting. That was all she did. And the girl sitting next to her said she started out at NASA. But we were all together in a campground industry meeting. So shoot high and hit. I watched a speech by a gentleman not too long ago, and he said it was fine with his father if he swung high and missed, but if he swung low and hit, that was bad. So aim for what you want. Let me tell you a little bit about MTEF, Maryland Tourism Education Foundation. I also have the privilege of chairing it. Started a number of years ago. We do grants for workforce development. We have 3 licensed programs that we do, which I won't give you all those details, but Sinan has all of my contact information. I'm happy to give you whatever you need. We do at least 1 scholarship a year. This year we did 2. Salisbury was from one of the colleges and the other one was Anne Arundel. And both were in the baking field, which was really good when we gave those out because we got free cupcakes, cookies, that type of thing. So it was good. But people often ask us, the difference for me between food and beverage, hospitality, tourism, to me it's all one big working family. And every facet works, just like an octopus. All those arms work together to make things work out. There are also scholarships available through the Maryland Hotel and Lodging Association. Amy Rohr is their chair and a great friend of mine. There are scholarships now being set up. Anne Arundel County Visitors Center has a scholarship set up through the Tourism Education Foundation. And the Brewers Association of Maryland is also starting because beer development, wine development in Maryland has become a really big thing. So I'm going to close with a poem. I wish I wrote it, I didn't. It was credited to Mother Teresa, but she didn't write it either. They found it on the walls of her home when she died, and everybody thought that she had written it. But it was actually written by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Kent Keith in 1968 as a part of a booklet for student leaders, and I love it. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest men and women with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men and women with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs, but follow top dogs. Fight for a few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you do help them. Help them anyway. Give the world the best you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway. Thank you for allowing me to be with you today.